Welcome to True Talk, everyone. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're kicking off the new year with a look back to some of our best moments, some of our best training segments on True Talk. We have Sean Mike, our president, CEO. We have Jay Masca. We have Steve Giordano and Marie Samaggio. So enjoy this show. Look at some of the high spots of the year. If you haven't already, get registered for annual convention. We'll be there in a couple weeks, fflconvention.com. VIP Premier are sold out completely. There are still some general admission left, so get those before they're done. We look forward to seeing you in Irving, Texas in a few weeks, and enjoy the show.
Growing up, I watched a lot of people around me. My immediate friends and family didn't have any money, but I was very blessed to be good enough athletically where people wanted me to play in their teams. Baseball, football, basketball, which I thought I sucked at, but I was like, man, you guys are all really uncoordinated because they wanted me to play. And my high school coach was like, you need to play basketball. I'm like, in high school, I hate basketball. And I'm like, I'm playing. And I'm like, dude, you guys suck. Like, I'm bad. And how am I playing? Like, you guys are awful. And, but I got to be around a lot of the men I met were successful coaches.
Okay.
Or businessmen that were coaching. They had been former athletes, whether they played professionally in college or whatever. But I was like always asking them questions, and I just watched. Sometimes I just watched. If they were talking about business, like I was watching. If we were at practice and John Ellis was talking about baseball, okay, he played in the big leagues. Fine. Dude, I didn't think I was going to play in the big leagues 14 years.
Yeah.
But when he was talking about business, I was like I'm listening.
So you kind of by accident got like a business education.
Yeah. I got around people that were doing well in business. My football coach did well in business. I had some basketball guy, a wrestling coach. I never wrestled. But I'd always be like, I can beat the shit out of all the guys in the wrestling team. And I became friends with him. Yeah. And they all had like a business outside of, and some of the guys they weren't coaches in high school. They were just coaches, on the outside. And they had very successful businesses.
Right.
And I was looking for that void in my life. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody speaking that into my life.
Got it. So you get these leads for the first time. Different result from down on real estate leads.
Different result when I went out there.
When you went out there. So
when they were buying policies.
So day one, you're like, I'm booking appointments. This is what I normally do. And then you go out there and run appointments for the first time. But
on the way to their houses, I believe that was going to sell no matter what. I didn't go, I made the appointments, but in real estate they didn't buy sometimes. And I was just like, dude, I'm jacked up.
Yeah.
I remember I called Jim. We had one carrier at the time. I had one carrier. The company had a bunch. He only gave me one carrier. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what to ask. I was just like, boom. And I remember the very first person said, why do you think I need this? I said, well, because I decided to join the life insurance industry because it's the only product that you're guaranteed to use because every single person dies. So I wanted to sell something that everybody would use. I don't want to sell anything that people may not use. He was like, well, that makes sense. And I was just like, and I started selling. I think I wrote 14 applications in 2 days.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about comp or how it worked. And I didn't know how low my comp was, the company I was at, which neither here nor there. But I got paid.
Yeah.
And when I got paid like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, I was like, damn. And I don't really know what I'm doing yet.
Right.
And then the guys around me don't seem to know what they're doing. And it went really fast.
Were you doing more than the people around you that recruited you?
Oh, yeah, dude. And the thing with me, and I remember I was in a meeting at the, that one by the DMV, is that the Holiday Inn in Norwich?
Oh, yeah.
Hotel?
Yep.
And the guy that hired me, Jim, got hired by a guy named Jay. And I remember I had gone to, right after I started, they wanted me to go to Syracuse, New York.
Yeah.
And I went, Jay had a nice house. He'd done some network marketing or something. So I was like, wow, this is like a pretty nice house. Like, you must do really well. And then, but on the way up to the meeting, I was like, God, it was a long way. And then we had a flat tire on the way back.
I remember this story.
Dude, that's when I knew I couldn't be hanging around with them because Jim was like, well, I can't get into he first of all couldn't get into his trunk. So I broke his trunk open. And then he said he didn't have the lock for the lug nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we'll just get the tire iron and bang that motherfucker. Like, we'll strip him.
Sure.
And, he was about in tears. But I changed the tire because I guess he didn't know how to change a tire. And they didn't do anything. And I was doing a meeting at a Holiday Inn, and there's about 60 people. I wasn't doing that. I was just at the meeting. And there was a guy that, I guess, actually the guy that was running the company at the time. And he was like, who's your upline? And I'm like, what do you mean? What's that mean? He's the guy I hired you. I'm like, that guy, Jim, right there. And he said, who hired him? I said, the guy, Jay, behind him. He said, they've been helpful? I was like, no, they don't do anything. And the guys laughed. I go, no, they don't do anything. And he goes, well, how'd you learn? I go, not from them. They don't do anything. I don't even think they work here. So he said, well, what do you think about that? I go, I don't think anything of it. I just think that I just found other people to get advice from. And he said, you know, they make an override when you sell. And I was like, dude, that's how, like, you might go like, come on, you knew. No, I didn't, dude.
So you didn't know about how the recruiting or
I
any of
didn't
that
know
worked?
anything other than get your license and here are the leads.
Yeah.
And here's the one carrier you have. You understand, there weren't carrier portals.
Right.
These were paper apps.
Yep.
I got handed 15-page paper apps. It was green and white, fidelity and guarantee. You pull them out. They they kind of perforate. You can cut them out. I knew, and I'm not dumb, so I know how to fill out an application. All you got to do is ask the questions and get the truth out of people and tell the truth. That seemed easy. Get them to sign everything. I come back to the office. I would fax in those apps. That's what I knew. I didn't know what I was getting paid. I didn't even know how to check my pending business at the time. I didn't know about overrides. I didn't know about recruiting. Jim didn't teach. All he said was you can make some extra money.
Got it.
Which he was right about.
So how long did you sell before you started actually recruiting?
You know, weirdly, Mike, I got excited about recruiting because I wanted my friends to get paid in sales. I didn't even like ever draw out groups or be like, well, I'm going to be at this level or that level, the whole deal. I literally was just excited about my friends making money.
Got it.
So I started calling friends of mine that I knew could use the help.
Yeah.
Right? And I did a lot of that. Matter of fact, I didn't really start, when I say I started recruiting, I hired a guy named Gordon, and I knew he didn't need the money.
Yeah. That's
when I was like, wait a minute. I'm already getting paid in the overrides. They're making money. This is really cool. And then I went to Gordon, who is I think still an attorney full time. It was already making money and doing well. And I was like, you should do this. He's like, I'm never going to sell any insurance. I said, no, but you know everybody you recruit well. I'll train them. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then it started to explode.
Got it.
I knew he's a better recruiter than me. I knew he knew more people than me. He'd been a professional longer than me. Like, I just knew he would be good. And that's when I finally started to realize, like, that's when I started drawing teams out, like looking at spreads and how that works and what you make and all those kind of things. But before that, I really talked to people like just about them making money.
Right.
And even when I met people subsequent to that, like, I was excited about you joining us because I'm like, I like him and I'd like him to make money.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been a driving force in my life, honestly, for a long time, is wanting to see people that maybe have counted themselves out or put their own lid on what they thought they could make and kind of going, why did they get to do it and we can't?
Right.
Like, why can't we do it?
Yeah.
And we could be anybody. Just anybody that didn't believe in themselves.
You said you barely had a dad. What do you mean by that?
I mean, my dad, so I'm 23, my dad's 85. And
Okay.
yeah, I just grew up with a lot of like abuse, living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And like my dad taught me a lot of lessons though. He had the mindset and the habits down.
Yeah.
Just not the parenting or the financial aspect down.
Got it. I mean, it's safe to say, like, you've been through some shit.
Oh yeah.
Right? We were kind of talking before we got on, and I won't say what I love about people who've been through shit. I've been through some shit, and when things happen in this business or in life, they don't seem as big as they do to most people, because there's stuff that I've dealt with, and I know you have as an adolescent, where you're like, dude, that was big.
Yeah.
This shit's not chargeback. Somebody quit. We got sued. Whatever the case was, like, whatever, dude. Who cares? Nothing's going to top this shit that I've gone through.
100%.
But you told me a story about when you were younger. You were 4 years old?
Yeah, 4 years old.
Parents had, just recently split up?
Yeah. They split up before that, but they were in and out of court.
Okay.
For
Going for custody.
Custody, exactly.
And you're the only kid by your mom and your dad?
Yes.
Yes. So,
But and my little sister.
and your little sister. So they're fighting over custody.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
So they were fighting over custody. My mom was like, my dad's not fit. My dad was like, my mom's not fit.
Yeah.
So while they were deciding who was fit, they put me and my little sister in foster care. So I was in foster care for, I think it was like 4 to 8 months. I was in foster care. And every day I slept in a dog kennel, which I was telling you. I slept in a dog kennel by my foster parents' bed.
Yeah.
So like when I got a chargeback or something bad happened, I was like, dude, y'all don't know. Like, the chargeback is nothing. Like, people quitting.
Dude, that's some crazy shit.
Yeah. And
like, how did they? I mean, you were 4, so it's not like you were able to ask all these questions. But what was the rationale behind why the hell you're sleeping in a dog? They had other kids, right?
Yeah. They had like there's like 10, 15 kids. Yeah.
Were you the only one in a freaking dog kennel?
I don't even know. I just remember I was in a dog kennel. Like, they would poke me with diabetic. Like, when you could poke their finger.
Yeah.
Which I was like, I don't have diabetes. This is weird. But they were just weird, like just weird, and it was in the middle of nowhere. Like I'm talking like a random farm in Nebraska, middle of nowhere. But like you said, like chargeback, cool. Like that ain't nothing from what I've been through. Like chargebacks ain't nothing.
Yeah.
So I I always put stuff into perspective when I'm in business.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. But then you ended up going to live with your dad.
Yeah, ended up living with my dad my whole life. So I'm half Colombian. My mom's full Colombian.
Yeah.
Speaks no English. So if I want to talk to her, it's Google Translate all the way.
Got it. How much do you, I don't want to say use that, but like obviously in business there's ups and downs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've had debt, you've had agents come, quit, roll up, a whole deal. How much does that, what you've gone through as a child, play into how you're able to keep moving? Like, do you always use that as a reminder, or?
I think it's just more like, it's like embedded in me because like at one point I had like 130 grand roll-up debt.
Yeah.
That was like 2 years ago. And I was like waking up, and it was with one company, and waking up to see a negative 130 grand.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not that bad.
All about perspective.
Absolutely.
Like, it's funny you're saying that, and I'm thinking back to when we started this company and we all got sued. Right, this was 2014, so over 10 years ago. I'm 28 at the time. I've never been sued before. Like, yeah, credit card companies, like, you owe us money, but like it's $500. Who cares? We got sued because we left a company where they thought they owned us, and you had gone through some stuff, and you kept saying, "I called Sean." He said, "Do this." I called Sean, and I'm like, dude, I remember being your age, my early 20s, met Sean, and it was the same thing. I would just call Sean. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do, but someone around here does.
Yeah.
How much is having Sean and other mentors, like how important is that in business, and how much is that, meant for you from where you came from to where you are now?
So what I love Sean, he's like a common sense guy.
Yeah.
My old mentor wasn't even a mentor. He was more like a motivator, like could get you to run through a brick wall.
Right.
But when adversity happened, you didn't know what to do. So like that's not even a mentor. He was just a motivator. But Sean is like legit mentor and like a common sense guy. I'm like, hey Sean, this happened. He goes, cool, do this. And then we'd just hang up. And I was like, all right, just do it then. And I was huge on just doing it. Like I'm really coachable. Like Sean says jump, I'm like, how high?
Yeah.
Just because I have that belief in Sean. But that was the biggest thing was he never really said anything special. It was just like he broke it down so common sense wise. I was like, you're right, it really is that easy. Like I just need to hire more people.
Yeah.
Or I just need to sell more insurance, or I just need to go out and recruit more and market more. I was like, it is that easy. I'm just overcomplicating it.
Yeah, dude, of all the problems in the world, like if it's, financial problems, well, you can fix that.
Yeah,
you can work. I mean, it's not, you're able body. You can figure out a way to make, whether it's with us somewhere else, like your health, you can't get back. There's certain things that but money wise, and then that was always Sean's answer. Like, dude, can you fix it with money? Yeah, then go sell life insurance.
Exactly.
You have a license to go sell life insurance. Figure it out. Well, I have this chargeback. This one, it ain't fun to get $130K worth of debt, but the good news is the carriers don't want it all tomorrow.
Yeah.
They work with you as long as you work with them.
100%.
And we have the ability to go out and help people and make money while we're doing it. You forgot this at convention. We got this here. How many of these do you have now?
4.
4, right? So this is the belt, the title for the #1 producer in all of FFL.
Champ is here.
The champ is here. Acknowledge, Steve.
Acknowledge me.
You're also our #1 producer of all time. Like, Family First Life's been around for over 10 years, and there's nobody that has sold more life insurance personally with us than you. So congratulations. Thank you for everything you do. But that's really what I want to talk about today is, like, I guess, why? Why every year do you, or 4 years in a row now, you finish #1, right? Why is that so important to you?
It's interesting because it's not always like my main goal. I think my main goal is to grow the team, but I do think this. I think I strive to be the best that I can be every day, and then if that turns into that, awesome.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I'm going to give it everything that I got every day. I also take a lot of pride in this company and what it's done for me.
Yeah.
And I take I have a lot of respect in the fact that I can kind of lead the company in some regard. Like at convention, one of the highlights for me was people kind of coming up to me, either asking questions and trying to figure stuff out and whatever level they're at here.
Yeah.
And then other people that you talked to like a year ago coming in saying, hey, I did this one little thing that you said and like, wow, it really took my business to this level. I take a lot of pride in that. And I think the two things kind of go hand in hand when you're kind of the #1 guy at a company.
Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility that you need to kind of pass on to people. So those are kind of the things for me that really, I guess, kind of keep me motivated and keep me moving.
Are you surprised that no one else has been #1? Like no one else is kind of coming for that spot?
Actually, because there's a lot of like crazy people that are
a lot
really
of talented
close.
producers.
Yeah, and there's people really close, and I've sweated out some moments.
Yeah.
Where some people are starting to figure out things and how to do this in different ways. If it's the way they're running ads and AI type of stuff and ways that they can really be more productive. And it kind of keeps me on my heels as well as, hey, how do I have to find different ways to sell and different ways to maximize my time to kind of get to these numbers?
Yeah. So for the past 4 years, each year you've helped over 1,000 families, correct? Which sounds crazy, right? Like part of it is, first of all, believing that you can do that, right? Did you believe that at first?
Not like day one or year one. I think going into that second year, where at the time, and it's funny when you look at the numbers, like, JPP did like 748.
Yeah.
And I was like 695. And I was kind of like 11 months because I started like 11 months in.
That was your first year?
That was my first year, yeah.
Yeah. So just shy of 700 families.
Yeah. So going into the second year, I'm like, okay, like kind of know what we spent and what the work looked like at 700. You're obviously a little bit better now than you were year one. Like it's attainable. And then what was interesting that obviously helped, that was the year of COVID. And at first, what's interesting is there was kind of like, when you go to the road and there's two forks in the road. Yeah. There was the people that were like, all right, well, we're just going to pack it in and not work. And then there was like me, like, well, one, like my bills are still coming.
Right.
And two, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like everybody's home. Everybody's freaked out. Everybody needs insurance. Like, and we can find different ways to meet and, responsibly and all that stuff. And then that exploded and it was like 1.3 for that year. And it was, work ethic, hard work, and then obviously those circumstances. Yeah. And then you get into those, subsequent years, and I did like 1.4 2 years and then 1.5 last year. And what's interesting is as I'm tracking the numbers last year, I'm like, wow, you're actually writing more. Yeah. And I'm like, how? Like I was questioning myself. I'm like, how?
Like, how's this possible?
And I started looking at it and analyzing it, and I'm like, well, you have a book of business. Yeah. And you're working your book of business, and you're going back to the book of business, and you're adding stuff, and you're finding other family members and referrals and stuff like that, plus your lead flow. And lo and behold, you're selling policies that are like easier because like now you're selling more stuff to people that you already sold. Right. So you're not like in this grind of like, I got to convince you to buy it. Like, exactly. All right, cool. Let me go call the 1.3 people from this year here. Right. That now need more coverage. Or whatever the case might be.
You mentioned 2020, right? When everything happened. And a lot of this business, a lot of life is based off of perspective, right? You could look at, like you said, that fork in the road. And this is why I love working with Sean, because his perspective is he is always looking for how can we do something, not how can't we, right? And when everything happened, insurance agents were deemed essential. So everyone's freaking out. And he's like, dude, what are we worried about? Number one, when we go out, like we're socially distanced right now. Right. So when we go out in the home, we're socially distanced. Wear a mask, do whatever you need to do. People got creative. They were meeting on porches and cars, the whole deal. But it's all about this. And like you said, not everyone, though. There are some people that went, oh, I can't meet with anyone anymore. And then there was virtual deal, but then people said, same thing there. Yes, I can figure out virtual, or no, I can't. You can't sell virtual. You can't do these type of numbers virtual, which now we've had plenty of people that have broken through that barrier, right? Sure. Like, and you're kind of a mix now. Yep. Have you always had such a good perspective, good mindset, or is there things that you've done, when you got into this business that have kind of helped you maintain that?
I think I've always had a decent mindset. I think it's definitely gotten stronger over time because you have to be a problem solver. Like kind of like you said when everything happened. You know, like Sean he obviously led the charge, which was great because it was the right message to us. Right. And then it was like, okay, like, let me take a step back. Let me look at what this problem is, and let me analyze how we can fix it. And not only fix it, but how do we take it from a disadvantage and make it an advantage? Right. And that's something I think over time in my life and being in this industry and this company, I've gotten better at over time because I'm like, okay, like there's different ways to skin the cat. Mm-hmm. But let's take that negative, turn it into a positive, and not only that, but excel. Because my view was this in all of that was that all the people, this company and other companies that said, we can't do it, we can't sell. I'm like, I'm going to ravage every one of your clients. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out and just tear it up. Right. Because, how many people I met that year and even now, insurance agents that don't want to go above and beyond and they don't want to do the little things that are really not that big of a deal. Right. But it's just going above and beyond for someone. And then you become their person for insurance. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that was a huge thing for me. And I think over time of doing this and kind of studying entrepreneurship, it's like, that's what those people do.
Yeah.
Like, the sky isn't always falling.
Right.
You know, like all right, here's a problem. All right, there's a great solution.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving.
And you had got your license when you were 19, is that right?
Yes.
Which it's like that. I would say it's abnormal, but a lot of us in our 20s or whatnot. At 19, what attracted you to life insurance?
So I had lost my mom when I was 19 years old, and it was kind of like an odd stage in college. People were like, "Oh, take some time off," and that never really like helped me like to sit home and take time off and think about my problems. So I was like, maybe I should just kind of ramp up school. Got school done. I graduated. That's what my mom really always like wanted to see for me. So I was just, happy I got that part kind of checked off the list, so to say. And I was like, now I'm graduated. What am I going to do with myself? I'm a loser. Like that was my actual sentence to my sister.
That's what you thought, for real?
Yeah, I was like, I'm a loser. I graduated like a month ago, and I don't have a real 6-figure income job. And I quote. Like, and now hearing it back, I'm like, that's really funny. Like, so what I did that same evening, I went on Craigslist at the time. Okay. And I applied to a couple positions. I worked in the service industry, so, like bartender, waiter, all through college and before that. And I got into life insurance because I went to an interview. It was kind of just like, you have an opportunity for growth and things like that were kind of in the ad. Yeah. And when I got there, it was for life insurance. So it's just kind of like an overview in a room of, what they did. Okay. I didn't fully understand it.
Did you know it was life insurance by the ad or no?
No, by the ad, I had no idea it was life insurance.
What'd you think it was?
I don't know, but it was like you have a potential to make a lot of money.
Okay,
and
so you just saw money. It was like, I'll show up.
It was like you have potential to make a lot of money and make a difference, a leadership position. I was like, all right, let's just see what happens. Yeah. So I showed up, liked kind of what they had to say from what I understood at the time, anyways, and.
Was it an interview or like a big meeting?
It was like a one-on-one interview for like 2 minutes, and as long as you were like, for like normal, they were like, go in the room, like you're special. And then they were like, we're going to pick only 2 of you guys. And I was like, oh my God, there's like 12 of us in here. I hope they pick me, Right. And lo and behold, they did, because they picked probably all 12 of us, but that's okay. Yep. Didn't know it was really like commission based, but got into it and just was like, you know what, this looks meaningful and purposeful, and I think it's something that my mom would be proud of me for. Okay. So I was kind of in that vulnerable state too of losing mom, that I was like, what would she be proud of me for? Right. And I think that was a big one.
You were raised pretty much by your mom, right?
Yeah, she was like almost acted as like mom and dad.
Got it. Yeah. And when you went to college, what was your goal there? What did you study? What did you think you were going to do?
So I always wanted to start my own business. I didn't really know like exactly what business or business model. I did see kind of growing up that although my dad didn't do a business the right way, he was a businessman, and that was what he did. And seeing that kind of freedom, he had to be self-employed and doing things on his terms to a point, until it got out of control. But being able to see that really kind of pushed me to like, hey, like this is kind of what I want to do, but just at a very different level and at a scale of like doing it the right way.
Got it. What do you mean he didn't do it the right way?
So just to kind of make a long story short, my dad had a really large construction company, in Massachusetts in early 2000s, and I don't know exactly what happened. Okay. White collar, different things. He ended up going to federal prison when I was 9, and he's out.
Okay, so you kind of saw both sides. You saw what you could do with a business, and then what you could do if you don't do things the right way.
Correct. Got it. So that was kind of a big eye opener to me too, and also just wanting to prove, I think, like to myself, like you're not your dad.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing.
Got it. And then he got locked up. You were what, 9 years old?
9. Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it was almost like like when. Because it was federal, so like when that's happening, you almost kind of have like this anticipation buildup. Yeah. But my mom did a really great job. I think if you can, as a parent, do a great job of almost helping us understand, like, hey, it's not your fault as children. First of all, second of all, you're not your dad. Mm-hmm. But third of all, like this is what's going to happen, and like, but it's going to be okay. Yeah. And like it's going to be okay, like not only for you, but for me, for your sister, like for your father, like just kind of really like. Almost minimizing things. Wow. And that was kind of the first time in my life where I saw minimization is a huge skill that you can have, Because if she didn't, I don't know what I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about providing a perspective and being in a position. You were 9, your sister was how old?
11.
11. I mean, it's a lot to deal with, from your mother's perspective. But to be there to, because you're dealing with that, and as a kid, I think it's natural to almost take some blame, even though you did nothing, but like, that's my dad, that's my mom. And for her to kind of just, set that perspective for you is amazing. And then so she raised you guys up until you were in high school or in college. Did she have life insurance?
She did have life insurance. She had enough as what she qualified for at the time that she got sick, because she ended up becoming ill when she was 40 with stage 4 cancer.
Got it. Breast cancer?
Yes, breast cancer. Yeah.
Gotcha.
They gave her 6 months to live. She ended up living 11 and a half years, which I'm forever grateful for.
They gave her 6 months and she lived 11 and a half past that?
Yeah, and it just goes to show you, too, like, if you think you can or you think you can't, like, you know. And, like, I think my mother felt like it wasn't an option to leave at that time. Wow. You know.
Yeah, how was her mindset when she first found out about that news?
Yeah, so I mean, I remember her breaking the news, you know, to me, and I mean, I don't know how you can really do it. It took her long enough. Like, I will say that, you know, Mom, God bless you, I love you, but like, you know, you could have told me earlier, you know. But her bringing that news to me, I mean, she never told me or my sister at that time that she was given those 6 months to live. Yeah, I don't know that that's something you can tell your 9 and 11-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
But she explained to me, like, you know, that she was sick, but she was going to be okay, and she was going to fight the fight, like, not only for herself, but more importantly, like, for me and my sister, and that meant the world to me. And just knowing and seeing her go through that was difficult, but knowing that she was willing to fight for it was amazing.
Wow. It's crazy. I mean, everyone goes through stuff, right? And it's like you can live in the almost depression of the moment, right? Or you can learn from these experiences. You can't change what happened, but think about all the lessons in everything you just said. And you talk about life insurance, almost like a natural progression, right? Like you got to see a lot of things. Number one, what happens if you get life insurance when you're not healthy, what you can actually get, but also the importance of having something. Because how many times we meet a client who's like, hey, listen, I had a heart attack 2 years ago. If I can't get, you know, $2 million, I'm not getting nothing. But there's other policies, there's other graded things where, I mean, in someone in your mom's shoes who live way past the 6 months and actually got to, you know, have that benefit like that, it's insane.
It is. It's huge. And I think that that's like another reason too. It's like, just like you said, it's not what we want, it's what we qualify for, you know? And it's like, that's just a huge point just in general, like with me helping people day to day. I use that example, and it's not because, you know, like I wished against my mom, but it's like, those are facts, and she's not the only one that did that, you know?
Right.
So,
but thank God she got something, you know, at that moment. Thank God she didn't have the mindset that, you know, we deal with a lot of clients were like, oh, if I can't get this, I'm getting nothing.
Right.
She saw the value in, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I can qualify for. And she cared enough about you guys to put that in place, which is amazing.